debug, do some programming. Today we're just gonna kind of look at doing maybe some cleanup type things. Not super difficult for this type of tutorial that it's been on. I'm just not sure really how far to go with this. And I was looking through my assets earlier, and it's looking like I won't really have anything that's very quick to use, because it looks like this might be actually more of an asset, like more than a little setup for this demo. I was thinking on using the Cartoon FX and Cartoon FX Remaster. They all look really good, I just don't know if I can figure out how to do them right. That's the only thing. Maybe we'll just play around with them a little bit, because I haven't really had time to learn these particular asset packages, and then also I just really haven't. I was trying to work with some of the what would it be called? I was trying to work on my IK and switch it over to a zoned gravity system. That rotation is just really messy, and it's right now it feels like it's beyond my my mathematical ability. To be fully honest, it's not that it's too hard to program. It's figure out what the math for it is, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is some days. So, because that's got me a little confused, we'll probably be going a little bit slower. I'm probably just working on projectiles unless somebody wants to drop something really interesting in the chat. I think that's pretty much what I'm going to stick with. I'm not going to go into too big of a thing. Let's flip this over and flip this other thing over into this one. So, as always, you can find me always for live demos on Twitch TV. You get that video free, and you can check out this coin I just recently switched the timings because I needed better meeting times for Thursdays, and then switched it so that I'm not going straight from driving all over to doing programming, which hasn't gone all that well this week either. So let's go into more of the. We'll probably take a look at a projectile script, do a quick recap, and use that. You need a quick recap over the whole project, or just like where I started doing bullets and stuff. Go ahead and go over to YouTube, and you'll see the tutorial playlist there, and you can either just run through it or go look for that specific video where we start doing some of the firing. I don't really want to do the JSON reading today because it's just been kind of a things aren't clicking very fast, and I feel like watching that show up one line at a time would be really boring. So we'll probably continue that some other time when I'm not so tired. But with that, I'll switch over to the art too. Yep, this scene looks pretty good. Go make sure the stream's still working. It was really weird. I updated my thing through OBS, and the Twitch still didn't recognize that, hey, the title of the stream has changed. So if you see that and the titles don't match, don't worry, just refresh. If you have something interesting that you want to know about Unity, just drop it in the chat. We're probably gonna go ahead and get started now with the type stuff. So let's go ahead and make sure. Oh, I didn't get my program open started. So let's head over to assets. Let's go into if it opens. Yep, it opens. Scripts. And what did I? Probably just gonna type in here. Bullets. Here's my bullet script, and if I clear this box out now, where bullets exist is inside scripts, inside ammunition. So I'll open bullets. I'll probably also open ammunition. Da, 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 da. Bullet, trigger, CMD. So if you remember, we have a bullet, CMD, and that's on the wrong screen. There we go. And let's get it big and blown up. And this sort of stuff could be kind of fun. Wait for delay. Yeah, that's right, because that's how that was set up. So what do we want to do here? We probably just have most of this set up. And when we do effects, it's probably going to be on this trigger enter. And it's probably going to be on deactivate bullet-ish. So here's where we'd probably, I'm going to switch over here and pause that. Okay. So here's what's going to be a little different. So we put deactivate bullet in here basically just to test, make sure everything works correctly. If we followed deactivate bullet, this makes sure all the pooling works correctly, stops the coroutines, ammo.pool ammo, GameObject.setActive false, this sort of thing. And then what? So now if we want to add special effects into this, we can either we can't really do it here because this kind of just makes sure everything disappears when it's supposed to. Delay, deactivate, but we want it on trigger. So here's the thing with trigger. So when this is called, this will automatically run, which is perfect. Except for the part where it's not. So there's deactivate bullet. This was good for testing purposes. It might not be best here because if this runs, it stops all coroutines and does all that stuff. Depends how we want to handle our special effect. So if we want to handle our special effect in the terms of spawn an effect that destroys itself, that's fine. If we want to do it where factory just takes over and spawns it, and after a time turns off effect, maybe make a little prefab special effect type thing, that might be good. Then we don't have to change this a whole lot because this object can honestly get turned off and reused if the effect is spawned by a factory pattern or positioned by a factory pattern that we made. So that might be better. And if we're following that, where would that all start? So let's start with reading over our variables and make sure we don't need to read. Oh, we do actually have delay stuff right here. That's nice. I'm not going to be using that. Ammunition, ammo, rigid body here. So maybe we make this like, what would this be? Like bullet references. So maybe we make a new region. region, and this would be like bullet. Yeah, let's just call it bullet references because I'm not super 100% today, it seems. So we're gonna go bullet references. I was literally calling reference variables something like holder and user and uses such and such. There are some pretty terrible names typed today. Um, which, never feel bad if that's where you're at when you're programming. It's like sometimes, especially if you're working on something that's technical or just hard for you in general, like math is for me. Um, there's no shame in just calling a bunch of variables holder 1, 2, 3. If you can't think of any names, just make sure that you're the type of person that can understand what that means. Um, and maybe I'll show a sneak peek of what I was failing to accomplish earlier today. And we'll see because I don't know if I'll get that finished. Again, it's like math for gravity zones, and it isn't all that. I have to figure out how to draw that using code, which is not all that intuitive, which brings it into mathematical, and that's not very fun. Protected, yeah. Worst comes to worst, I just turn off the 360 part and let it run normal. Protected, virtual void. No, not virtual void. This isn't a method. It's probably gonna be serialized. Yeah, it's gonna have to be serialized field. So it's like a serialized field, and it's gonna have to be like an effect. So we have to kind of think about, are we gonna make it an effect like class? Are we gonna make it that sort of thing? The one thing it's gonna have to be anyway, either way we do it, is gonna have to be game objects. And that's because prefabs pretty much have to be game objects. There is a new, what is that new game? It's addressable. A BLE. Is there? Maybe it wasn't this. I just learned about it like last week. Uh, hmm. Fix address value type. Add component menu. Okay, apparently I don't remember it too well. But essentially all it is a way to label a type for an addressable type component, which would be an internet stored one, possibly on like Azure or some other type of um, asset bank type thing you can make. Um, yeah, I didn't look too deeply into it, just far enough to realize that my idea of using an asset bundle was not only outdated but deprecated as well. Which the materials for Unity certification are really desperate need of updating, considering half that crap is deprecated. Just really old crap up there. Um, and honestly, if you're following along in the videos, you've learned most of that already. Because I think the only thing that I didn't know really was viewport. So by the time you learn physics, viewport, and viewport being viewport for camera. Then there's like some texture renderer stuff, which I think I've also done on this tutorial list. That's probably all fine. That's most of what was covered in the materials. And then just basically get familiar with design patterns, even though pooling's like the only one I've seen them talk about yet. I haven't taken the test yet, but I'm just talking about the materials. It doesn't seem quite like it. Yeah, it just doesn't quite make sense. All the stuff is in like 2017. And as you can see, this is 2022. I could really pull open the thing, but I don't remember exactly which version we're using, but certification materials are on 2020, or not 2022, they're on 2017 materials. And it's very old. Um and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in chat. I'm just kind of going through some ammo type stuff, picking up where we left off with projectiles. We're doing protected. Back to this anyway. Game object, because it's going to be serialized and it's going to connect to something. So we got game object, got to connect to something, and it's going to be our special effect. We could do SFX for that. SFX equals null by default. Sure, fine. Works for me just because I want to make sure null is when I reference something and it's not here, I don't want it to give me something saying it is here because that's a real pain, especially when you're troubleshooting. So what I'm probably going to do is so we're null and then probably just comment this so I know what it is when I come back to it. Be something like SFX, be so I would probably do this as collision effect, which shouldn't be labeled that way. It should be labeled trigger effect. Trigger effect. And why should it be called trigger effect? I just don't want it to be confused that even though it symbolizes the bullet colliding with something else, I don't want it to be confused with that it is a trigger. So serialized field, protected game object, SFX2, we're not going to do that. What I'm going to actually maybe put this TRIG, no, hit effect null, and then this would be something like, what would you want this to be? This would be like muzzle flash or something, which would actually be an ammunition, so you know what, scrap that. So hit effect, we've got a game object hit effect, and if we're going, let's just go back to Unity right away. Then we go something like assets and go to our prefabs, which would be, where would they be? The prefabs be bullet, which is poorly named. I need to change that yet. And go to inspector. Just look through quick. Ammo, bullet, and if you look at the script, that hit effect. Let's create an object just to see what would it be? That would be an empty prefab. So let's create, and can I remember where that is? This is where sometimes it's nice when they alphabetize some stuff. Prefab, here we go. So prefab, and name of it can be something like, what would it be? This is going to be hit effect SFX. Hit effects SFX, something like that. Reason I create a prefab right away sometimes is I know it's going to be an empty game object on top, and everything else will be listed underneath it just for my object structure and peace of mind, what little is left. We can go ahead and then just go ahead and create empty. Or what I'll likely do is actually go back to assets, go to like JMO, go to FX, maybe that's the wrong folder. Again, I haven't been through here a heck of a lot. Somebody uses this and knows a good place for an effect, let me know. There's a good bunch of effects, I've seen them all, and they're really well organized so far. I'm just not 100% sure how to use them. And I think what I'll look at for the most part is some of the electric effects. So if we double click them, we can kind of see what they do. That seems more like a line effect. Not exactly what we're looking for. That one looks pretty nice when it plays. I think that was the third one. Yeah, third one. That's a continuous effect. Not looking for continuous stuff right now. Ooh, that looks really good. What was that one? There? Alright, so we're just kind of, for people dropping in, we're just kind of looking at different things to do here. Some of the firing stuff, and we're looking at some of the JMO packages. Two of them to be exact. And if you have a question, just drop it in the chat. I think I lost where it was. I like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and Control D duplicate that. That's impact one. And then I'll go over here and look at my asset structure. Just throw this guy into animation. What was my assets? It was prefabs, bullets. So I'm basically just getting that pre-done prefab for me and throwing it in there. Without destroying anything or moving anything out of any folders, because last thing I want to do is move an asset that was supposed to be somewhere else. Hit effects. So now you see this one, if we double click it, it should work. What's with this thing? That's weird. Did I not? Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. There it is. That makes more sense. I'm not particularly good at keeping track of my file names, but so let's just call this hit spark. So we do hit spark and hit effects SFX. Gonna open this one and just kind of pull this guy in here. Make sure everything stays 0. And then we're gonna continue on. We hit play. That looks pretty good. I might speed that up eventually, but for right now, I think it's looking fine till we get it in the scene. If anyone's following along with the tutorials on the playlist, we'll look at animation, art. I think it's in scenes, should be. Go to scenes, find my scene. Up, 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 up. Probably go to test, bullet test. I think I moved it yesterday. So let's go ahead and run that. Just verify that it still works. And the thing about it is that it's not running very well is, can I go to capsule? There we go. So you can see the purple moving, so that's still working perfectly fine. This is still deactivating nicely. So all of this is still functional from yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week, which is nice. It's always nice when things still work once you leave them. So just to making sure that was all set up. Kind of want to get position for this test. I'm not sure why. Whoa. Somehow my, what the F? Oh, I get what it is now. There we go. It zoomed me in underneath it for some reason instead of putting me right side up, which I probably would have noticed if I looked at my axes, which is why my look left and right was inverted from drag. So that's weird. Don't particularly like that. I mean, I say should, but mine doesn't work where it automatically inverts your, or not inverts, automatically accounts for what your camera is for your inputs. So I shouldn't say it should, but I can't say it shouldn't. Placeable object ID, INA, so that's, yeah, if you watch the JSON, that's all that is. So with that, we can head back to our little setup, which is out on, let's just go all the way back to assets, and it's easier for me to find stuff that way. Prefabs, bullets, and we got hit effects, hit spark, hit effects, and then bullet list. So I put it as hit game object. I'll actually probably want to change that to a scriptable object, but that's just a placeholder for right now anyway. What's actually going to be is a factory pattern reference. So if we edit script right now, actually, I'll change that to FACT. Not a firing factory, a generic factory, because there's no point in a firing factory, I've discovered. I made one for testing because I was worried that there might be, but there is not. Hit effects, I'm just gonna go factory under there. A CT underscore SCO. And we have, so a hit effect SCO heading on to something else. So basically I can go back into my Unity and if you don't have the factory pattern, maybe after this stream or something, go check out or if you're watching the video, right now is a better time. But if you haven't seen that, if basically you'll want to go back and check that one firing factory pattern video at some point and look that up because that will save you a lot of time. So if we go to scripts, I think I do it in, let's just type in factory here. factory, because I get really sick of looking for things, so I figure out how to run search functions pretty fast. Firing factory SCO is right here. So then if I, once again, clear out that box, open that, firing factory generic firing, wait, what? Oh, I don't want that one. I want this one. I want not generic factory, because there is no point in a firing factory. Scriptable object, if you haven't seen this before, create asset menu file, the file name, what it'll be called by default name, and then where in your menu it goes, menu name. Factory item, pool, this is our basic pooling setup. So this is all good. I just wanted this open in case I have to change something in here. And I don't want to go back and find it later when we're halfway through troubleshooting and trying to figure out what is wrong. So we're just going to go back to Unity again now that that's open. I have the firing factory open. I want factory item open just in case as well. So that's a good thing to have. And then I'm just going to go back to Unity once again. I flip back and forth quite a bit. So scripts factory, because we go with scripts and factory, it said, right? Yep, just reconfirming the path. And then there's factories in here. So the reason I did this way is because I'm gonna have a lot of factories. So create, and then we go scriptable object, just kind of file that asset menu name. And we go generic factory, and we have a generic factory that can spawn this thing. So we don't quite have a factory item on our prefab yet, but we don't really need that because GameObject only uses this. So what I'll do is go back to probably lock this actually. So there should be a lock up here. We go ahead and lock this with our new generic factory selected, which we'll rename this when we come back to, because that's a terrible name for an asset. We'll go to prefabs, not bike bodies, bullets, and then pull this guy in. So hit spark, and then we're gonna go back and do some other stuff with hit spark. So now hit spark, hit effect SFX can have something like we'll need a new script for this. So go to scripts, and is there anything that would fall in it very good right now? Ammunition. And we're gonna create just rename this, or what is it? Create C# script, and we're gonna create a hit effect script, maybe call it bullet, BULLET, HITEFECT. Close enough. EFEC? I don't know. EFECT. Let's pull that open. And this is a new class, so I'm just going to go ahead and do some quick house cleaning. It's going to be ISAC. Name, date, and /2024. 2024. And Control S, and then we go down, and I'm going to use a namespace, just a simple namespace. Bug-free productions. And is this tools? This is probably still tools. Tools being the domain that I put all my namesake in. Tools. Things that I'll reuse from many different projects so that my namespaces never collide with things that overlap. For example, these are kind of generic type things in tools that don't need a bunch of configuration like IK does. Um, where IK, my setup for inverse kinematics is kind of set up inside the set up inside my arcade racer rather than inside my tool set because it's not going to be usable for everything because it's specifically for bikes. Which I can maybe build it out into bike IK, but being that it's kind of geared towards certain assets, it's not really very useful that way. So we're gonna go vars. This is my normal setup. Vars, some lines. Not three. No, no hindrance for having three, but no payoff either. Methods. Uh-oh. Something break? This all looks good. What's the... My setup's looking very weird today. How's this working? Is this refreshing? There we go. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with my thing, but like my OBS is looking fine, which is what I checked right away. My browser is freaking the F out. So we got vars methods, and what else do I want here? What are they? Accessors. If you watch the other ones, you'll recognize this. Basically, gets and sets are down here for getting and setting information. Vars are up here for private variables only and also for storing things privately. And methods explanatory, making methods. So we'll probably need some sort of like play hit effect. Play hit effect. I'm assuming. Might not, but yeah, start somewhere. Protected. I do virtual. Void. A lot of people say just do protected or private. Preferably, a lot of people prefer private. As you'll notice with mine is geared towards offline multiplayer, so they're not going to hack a heck of a lot, and it's not going to affect player-to-player play sessions, so protected's fine. At least I think so. Player hit effect. Player play hit effect. We'll add some plain effects here. I think I need my other class that I made, which is, so it has to do with instantiating. I think I need to inherit from factory item. And you'll see why I opened that up in a different tab so that I can flip through here. Oh, it was actually right next to it. That's funny. That's convenient though, because everything I'm working on I try and keep to the left of this mess. I'm gonna close some of this crap just so it's less crap. Trig CMD client. We'll leave that open. Gravity zone will close. Object placement will close. Placeable object. And reader, gateway, there. A manageable amount to read through and flip through. So usable factory item Basically, it's just going in here and it inherits from poolable item. Game object set active true, make sure it sets itself true when it runs this method. Use item pool, sets the pool equal to AGP because it inherits from poolable. So that's pool is inherited from poolable. That's why you don't see a lot of variables declared here, is because I use inheritance quite a bit, quite heavily to get the kind of patterns I want. I use inheritance over interfaces. It's just what I found more effective in Unity. It's not more effective overall, I don't think. A lot of people would prefer that you use interfaces if you're doing websites and stuff, but in Unity, I found it more often than not is way more useful to use inheritance versus interfaces, with select cases being the exception. So use factory item, transform position, ATF position, transform rotation, ATF dot rotation. Just meaning that it's like, okay, this object is requesting it, it's sending me a transform where to place the object, and um, also giving me a pool that I add myself to so that I function better and know where to pool myself when I either end or whenever I choose to do that. In here, um, it's used to just set the pool button. If you watched and remember an ammunition, ammunition pools itself on collision when all the bullets have collided so that it's in uh, a turned off state and ready to reset when it's next used. This one's going to be very similar. Um, reason being, yeah, it's going to be very similar. Reason being, it's going to act almost the same way. So since I know that's going to be the case, I might even want to go back to Unity and open up that type of thing. Um, I would probably want to go to Unity and open up my ammunition script as well. And we'll go through here and we'll see use factory item is overwritten to fire ammunition where this occurs, and then pool ammo is written, and pool self writes to that and helps with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same as I did with that. Factory item, bullet trigger, components, generic factory. Let's get back what I was doing here. Where was that? Bullet hit effect. There we go. So it's going to be a factory item, and we're probably instead also going to have a coroutine section, because coroutines coroutines can be used to what is it? Not simplify. Be used instead of a true asynchronous function in Unity. And what does that mean? That means it runs on a single thread. It runs every frame, but technically it acts as an asynchronous function because it doesn't execute until a different trigger is hit. So methods, and I'm just going to pull ammunition actually. I'm terrible at trying to remember stuff. Control C, use factory item. And the bullet hit effect is meant to do something like this. Base use factory item does all the base stuff, then it fires ammunition. So this would probably be replaced with play hit effect. And by replacing it with play hit effect, we basically open up ourselves to use the same thing like we did in ammunition, but play the hit effect instead. Play hit effect, there should be an SFX We'll probably want to do that here. And just so I can remember what the type is called, let's go ahead and shoot over to hit spark. Oh, I locked the inspector. Unlock the inspector. View hit spark. You'll notice he has this particle system here. That's what we want to access if we need to hit play or something. So we're gonna need, we might as well add the component while we're here, which is bullet hit effect. BU bullet hit effect with my terrible spelling. I'm sure something spelt wrong here. And then we'll just pop back over to Visual Studio. Protected virtual void play hit effect. So we're playing hit effect. We need that variable, which is going to be a particle system. I think there's a using statement specific to it. So I like protected in case I inherit from this class later. It lets me inherit fields. It's going to need to be serialized because I need it to be serialized in order for me to assign stuff in inspector. So serialized field protected, and then it's particle effect system, PART, particle effect system, just particle system. I don't like the underscore naming system, so I would either call this something like PS or particle system lowercase and capital S. Um, no wrong way to do that. I just prefer short. If it's less than 2 letters, I don't like reading code. Just throwing that out there. People like to read full words, and it helps people read your code when they have more than one letter to read at a time. So yeah, there's exceptions to where I know I've heard horror stories about working at Charter where nothing is over 3 letters long, and it's all in reference, and it's all terrible. But if you're programming and you're working on a team, uh, give them at least 2 letters, at least, and only 2 letters in the case that people know what these abbreviations are. Because if they don't know what these abbreviations are, that's just going to piss them off when they're trying to read through your code, trying to help or trying to add functionality off later. So, enough about naming. So the PS point of sale up here, particle system, is gonna play hit effect. So we can go like PS dot. Can I remember what this is? What was clear? Clear is remove all particles. That's not what we want. I want to just like play it. Don't remember what the exact call for it was. Play is alive, is paused, is stopped. There it is. Probably play. Play with Boolean starts the particle system. Play. So if we play, need parameters, even though you don't pass any. We could pass some, I think. I think it's like true. Play with children, true. By default, it plays just fine. And we don't actually play with children, it's just the one object playing, so not a big deal. PS play, so that's pretty much it for playing the effect. If we wanted a sound to go with it, we would do the same thing with like an audio source. Probably have to throw that up here. I won't set one up today because I don't have any audio ready to go. That's something I'm still looking for. So if anybody has recommendations, go ahead and drop them in chat or comments. Uh, I always love good recs for assets. Sometimes I can't afford them, but I always love to look at them. So this one's going to be like an audio source. Audio source. And actually, probably audio source might be something I want to look at soon. I can't use that word. Too many associations with the smaller case word as. That's gonna have to be a lowercase audio capital source. Um, I don't know if it is in C sharp, but I know Python had an as, which was a real. Oh yeah, C sharp does. It's like using something, Unity engine, Unity engine dot input system dot. What was this guy? Can I just get like an input enhance touch as. Anyway, you get the point. You can pull it in as a separate thing. I'm not going to use touch in this game, but you can import them as separate things and then set them up as certain other things. I'm not going to do that today, but that's an option definitely. You might want to look up that type of thing. It's very useful when you go to mobile. I don't think I've even gotten the touch to work with the new input system aside from pulling input directly from the static classes, which is kind of what I was doing there with using Unity Engine. And then if you go all the way to enhanced touch, you can get input directly from the touch and you can just check states, which is way easier than trying to set it up in the player player input settings. It just is, and it's more consistent too. It works really nice, especially for touch. I haven't used it for keyboard inputs that way, but I assume it's perfectly fine because it's the base function for all the stuff I set up in the inspector. I just don't know if it's gonna be, you know, with how easy it was for me to set up my multiplayer for keyboard, uh, and multiple controller, I don't know that I'd want to do that for this type of game that runs on PC, just for touch, and especially for solo games that use touch. Be very good. It worked very nice for battle tops. Using that Unity or using Unity Engine input system, enhanced touch worked very nice. And I don't remember the exact link I used online. Maybe if I look it up, I'll be doing some mobile AR later this year. Maybe I'll post that to yeah, I'll have to post at least a video or something of that later this year. Using that enhanced touch setup because it is nice. Um, enough enough fangirling over the enhanced touch capabilities though. Play hit effect. So then we would do audio source, and just do pretty much the same thing I think. Dot play here, I think it is. Yep, totally true. Um, and I think even if I was using a sound, it might even be something like audio source, not lowercase, not lowercase. Let's just get rid of this line. AUDIO audio source dot play clip at point, which is what I'd actually use. because this guy does a really nice job. Plays clip at point, plays it in world space, and just plays one clip. What was the thing? Audio clip. Yep. So I would actually create. Let's duplicate that, not edit. Um, audio clip. Audio clip. Audio clip. And this is a pretty basic one, but then I just go audio clip. What I usually end up doing is I'll create some sort of array and randomizer selection to select randomly from the array, which, I mean, since there's not really any set destination tonight, can probably show you what that looks like, because that would be interesting. But play clip out point and then a vector 3. Vector 3 being a position, so flip a pose. I haven't defined that, so of course it doesn't know what that is. Play clip up point. It's AV3 vector 3 VECT vector 3 a position. And play hit effect, and then we just need a position, which this isn't quite going to be right. So the one thing I would change about here is, because I don't like this part for this type of setup, because using a factory item, it worked perfectly fine for the other one. Well, no, transform, a bullet's going to call this, right? It's going to use this item. So it's going to pass in its own transform, which will transform at time of trigger. Fine. Okay. That's perfectly fine. So we just go to ATF. ATF dot position dot position. Pulls in here, pulls that information that it needs, the position in world space. I'll probably do a thing on world space and local space at some point, especially when I go over my IK machine, which is a little bit different than, well, it's a lot different because it's just meant to move a motorcycle and balance it, not meant to place feet on the ground, which would be a lot more effort. So we got PS play, we got audio source, play clip at point, audio source pose. I don't really need this. If we wanted to do like some audio randomized stuff, play clip at point, I would probably extend this to take in an audio clip. Audio clip. And the reason I would extend it here, A, C. The reason I would extend it here is because I guess I wouldn't have to do it here. Probably better not do it here. And I don't really prep these videos, so, if there's a little back and forth, that's kind of where it comes from. I don't write scripts for this. I'm just kind of like, hey, I can solve that problem live. That works fine. Or I have already done it and just want to talk through it because cool. Basically, I'd write something like protected virtual override, no, protected virtual void security setting type. It wouldn't be, well, we'll come back for that. play hit effect, so it be an audio clip, so it be select audio clip. SelectAudioClip. Select audio clip. Gonna open some lines. And I use a lot of autocomplete, so if you're somebody that's like typing in Notepad for some reason, I'm sorry. I recommend Visual Studio because of the autocomplete useful utilities in it. Um, Sometimes it's not always correct, but it's usually helpful. VS Code is slimmer and runs faster, but it's not as friendly with Unity, I found. It can be if you take time and know what you're doing, but if you're kind of just starting, it might be a little finicky. I've seen it be a little finicky. Um, so select audio clip. Basically, I'll probably need, instead of audio clip up here, we'll then shift this into an array type. So it'll be an array of audio clips, um, equal to null. Let me actually test this. I think this works, but I do a list type of audio clip, and this works as long as I don't want to serialize it out, or not as a serialized field. It works as long as I don't want to serialize the list as a data type. Um, Audio clip. Then we'll just, I think it's Control RR. Add an S on the end. Okay, so I'm actually just going to comment this line out so I can save it and show if that works or not. Which it should. There's no reason it doesn't. So it's this one. And you'll see, yep, so it serializes it as an array. Which is good, because then I can use it as a list and not an array, because I hate using arrays any more than I have to. It's just not one of my favorite things to use. The reason comes from that for null references. I don't like this being null, and I don't like the audio clip like an array. I can't actually do anything but either declare it, or which it doesn't exist when something goes to look for it. It just makes it worse. So let's do a list audio clips as a new list audio clip. And this is better than an array because it still serializes in the inspector, but it doesn't like throw null references if I don't declare what the array is already, which I'm going to do a length check anyway, but essentially it's better this way still. It just lowers the amount of errors I can possibly get without increasing the amount of null checks I have to do. Um, it makes it a little smoother. Plus, if I ever want to send it to an array, I can always just go up here and pull system link. Using system.link. And using system.link will eliminate any of the worries I have about pulling different things in or what have you. Because as soon as I start using system.link, anytime I feel like, I can just go down and say, hey, I want this list as an array, and go audio clips dot to list or to array. And it works perfectly fine. So select audio clip. Let's do some random stuff, huh? So now that this is an list, now that this is a list, I can do whatever I want with it. So if there's nothing in the list, I won't select anything. So let's start with that. If audio clips, AUDIO, if audio clips dot count is less than, no, I want it permissive. So I screwed up. Greater than equal to 1. So if it has one item or more, then we're going to do this thing. Um, then audio clips, no. We need to take in and get our count of the list count. So we need random, I think, yeah. So random in Unity is a little different than random in VS. In VS, you have to create a random object. In Unity, you can kind of use like a static like access, which rand range is, yep, nope, decremented. Crap. What was it? Is it just random.range maybe? Random.range is not deprecated. So it's range now. Min inclusive, max inclusive. So both are inclusive. So we don't have to deal with we flip back random range. We had to deal with the frickin' float min and max, but one was not inclusive. I think it was the max, which works really well if you're always dealing with array indexing, but kind of crap when you have a max number of random numbers and you want it to include that number. So flip back, use range. So these are both inclusive, so it'd be 0, 2, what would it be? 0 to the audio clips, AUDIO, audio clip, no, audio clips. Maybe just go grab and copy paste it. I can't spell, man. Control V, audio clips. So why does it? Oh, okay, that's just typing crap. Dot count, and then if any, as most people are probably familiar with indexing, you go -1, because your count is one more than your maximum index. And since this is inclusive, all arrays start at 0 and go to the count -1, essentially. So what do we want to do with this thing then? We got random range, if audio clips dot count. I'll probably even change this. I don't like it to play selected or play rand audio clip. And the reason for that being this one knows what the indexing is. PLA I could do a, let me type this. So there's a couple different logics here. I could play the audio clip here, go select random, have it return a random clip, but and only do that if the index is greater than 0. Which is actually what I'll change this to read as, greater than 0. But that's like an extra if check, whereas if this throws in play rand audio clip, this only happens if the audio clips are greater than 0, and then selects the random range. So it would be a bit redundant to check if we had an audio clip to play and then ask it to play a random one. Um, it's just weird. And then we can just go audio source, capital audio, AUDIO, audio source dot play clip at point, and do a line here. So what's the gonna play? What clip is it gonna play? It's gonna play audio clips dot no, not dot, index dot, and index dot what? We need to save this. So we'll need a, takes in an integer, right? Yeah, integer, because that's a normal C# value for indexes. Int, just do something simple like IDX. Simple int IDX random.range 0 audio clip.count. That's probably fine. -1. And then that'd be all good. And then we go IDX, which if the audio clip has a count of 1, essentially it'll have a range of 0 to 0. Hopefully that returns. Okay. Play clip at point. Pulls in audio clips ADX. What's the deal with position? Which we've accounted for in being a vector3 pose. And we'll just throw this in, Control V. And this is accounted for in this, meaning we can just go audio clip, comma, a pose. And we go into audio clips, play random clip audio, just pass in a pose again. And for those that are really new, you don't have to worry about these being named the same because they don't exist inside the same scope. So basically this exists only in this method, and this one only exists in this method, and none of them exist at this level. So keeping that all straight, we move over into this. So we have basically a play. You could even add one more if statement if we're really terrified, which some people are. If audio clips equivalent check to 1, and make this an else if. So if that's true, so if it's exactly equal to 1, then we don't do the random thing, which is extra calculation. It would just I actually think I can do, what's it, audio clips dot, is it first or default? Think so. First or default. So what's the description? Plays an audio clip. It doesn't give a freaking description worth of crap, does it? Come on. Give me a description. Extension, audio clip, first or default, audio clip. It's the audio clip. Nope, that's not gonna be what I want. So let's just walk it back and use the index of 0, which is the first object in the array, which is what lists are built off of. Essentially, it's fine. So if that, else this, we could add an else where, but there's nothing for the else to do, so it doesn't matter. Effectively does not matter. Yeah, much like a bucket of water poured on you in the rain, it does not matter. Play random audio clip, a pose. So this all works, this all runs. If I had an audio effect in there to run, I would. I just don't, I only have music. Good ones to run would probably be somewhere in freesound.org. There's don't remember the other one. This one's not working now, is it? Is it running? Yeah, my download is like really effed up. Just really just desynced. Okay. Use factory item. So now that my thing's resynced, let's keep looking at it. So play hit effects. This is all done. What was the thing I was trying to think of? It was free open, so or free to use sounds. Yeah, I'll probably look those up for next stream or something. I can't remember what they are. I can't remember what the one that we use. I think it's Pexels, but I don't have any real confidence that that's true. Uh, whoops. Don't want the Windows logo up. So we'll just keep going with this, and yeah, see my beautiful Windows tab. I wish there was a way to record. I wish recording Windows didn't record like on Affinity photo. It just records nothing, and it is so frustrating sometimes when I'm like, I just want to record Windows so that I don't have to worry about flashing stuff up on screens because it's just capturing Windows, and it's like, nope, you're gonna not be able to see your canvas. Oh, silly. So silly. Okay, so let's go switch over back to the Unity and bullet hit effect. So was there anything here that we're really worried about? Not yet. We have the play on, override void. Um, let's go ahead and pull up ammunition because I know it's really similar to it. We're going to look at bullets, bullet list, casings. So these would be special effects that we're not necessarily going to use right now. Bullet list is stuff we've used. Fire ammunition does this thing, and then pool ammo and pool self are separate. So if you've been following along, you'll remember pool self, pools itself, sets its activity equal to false, does base pool self. because we don't always want to deactivate the object when we pool. This case we definitely will, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull this stuff. Control C, bullet hit effect. And we have this much. And I'll probably add a region because I love regions. Especially cold, wintry ones. I just, I don't like heat. Um, region, beam, play effects. Play effects, and we'll go down to here after the effects and just go end a region. So we got the end a region, and I'll go in and just grab some stuff, minimize it. Not doing the coroutines just yet. Let's go ahead and go Control V. We have bullet list, which is not going to be useful in this case. Go delete. Pool ammo is probably just going to be pool self because we don't really use an ammo. I'm just trying to think through what this should do. Pool self should do the same thing. Should pool it, that sort of thing. But I don't know that we really need to do this. I mean, do this. We want it to happen on trigger on this thing, similar to bullet, but we can't necessarily inherit from that trigger client. Luckily, we don't really care if our effect is a trigger CMD client. What I would more likely do with that is, yeah, so if we were going to have like a damaging area of effect, I would have that be a separate trigger CMD client object, which would have its own field trigger and that sort of thing, and run according to that. I wouldn't have it be part of my hit effect because I want the hit effect to be reusable, and he's not necessarily going to have like a trigger thing. It's going to be more like play at source of hit, so don't have to worry about that too much. Yeah, again, just thinking out loud, I just think through most of this because I don't really write any scripts um, in that way. Pool ammo, pool self. So this is really irrelevant and actually would probably be replaced with something more like a trigger. So something like an on trigger, TRI, on trigger enter, collider other. Important distinction I found out the hard way. On trigger enter and let's on collision enter. So when they mention that collider is this other and collision is the collision, that's an important note to look at right there. Being collision gets passed all the way up to the rigid body. So you'll go all the way up to the rigid body already. Whereas if you get like a collider other, you have to go like other at attached rigid body to get the rigid body of the object you hit. Which doesn't sound too bad. And you can get, there's obviously ways to go full circle from either way, but um, worth noting up front. I will not use on collision for this demo. Uh, just not correct to use it that way, because the idea of the effect, if we were going to have it do damage, we could put like an area trigger damage. Not going to, that would be a separate object, and as far as I'm concerned, as I stated before, um, we're simply going to probably just pool this thing, pool self. Pool self, and parameters of nothing. Cool. Um, so then use factory item does this, play effect. Everything should be perfectly usable. Big freaking air quotes. Let's go ahead and, since we have everything saved up, let's go ahead and pivot over to Unity. We'll go ahead and open a decent scene, the bullet scene. I'm gonna go ahead and control duplicate this plane. I'm gonna hit play and just figure out where the heck I'm throwing marbles at. Okay, so let's hit that. Let's do this, and let's so right here you can choose between global and local rotation selection. Uh, I find global very hard to manage. Uh, I'm sure there's cases where you want to work with global, but as you can see, what is it? Every time I whoop, yeah, I can see because it's 3D, I can see it pretty well. Um, but every time I release, it snaps and everything's back to that. So this pretty much stays still the entire time. Um, so if I'm doing certain things, I prefer not to use global, and usually I try and stay in local actually, because it just really bugs me. Whereas if I move this, you notice the other axes move with it because it's local rotation, um, which makes it much easier to deal with. And then, does it play? Huh. Something's. Oh, I think I never changed the ammunition. It being prefabs, bullets. So I could just walk back something I did where it's just like, yeah, I want bullets to use the triggers. And we'll see how this. Yep. Why doesn't it? Huh. So you can see Yeah, remember what I said about it's nice when things work from the last day you worked on them? Huh. So what's in bullet? Untrigger, enter, deactivate bullet, stops all coroutines, ammo.pool, this, pool ammo passes this into it, send game object set active. Just gotta turn on these last two first. See how this runs. H. There might be one other problem. Let's make this convex. Still same problem. Why don't you turn off, bullet? I gotta find the answer here. This trigger is sphere collider, mesh, all that junk. Bullets has its own rigid body. Yeah. Um. Okay. Oh, did those run at all? Console. Why me 7? Why me 9? Null reference object not sent to an instance of an object. Here is collision. Trigger CMD. What is this? Trigger. Here is collision collider. Other. What did I edit? Okay. I was working in Gravity and edited this bit a bit. Here's collider gets the rigid body, so this pulls open other dot attached rigid body, and since it doesn't have a rigid other dot rigid body, it fails out here. But in sense that I don't need that for this one. What's request? Other dot attached crap. So trigger enter. Frick. So the thing I had to do with my rigid body. Okay, so the reason this is like this is because when I was doing my thing, as I mentioned before, my IK, I was making false gravity zoned. They used a trigger command client, and here is the collision. Cool. And then request. So that works that way. So what I have to do is just create a quick little rewrite of what I messed up on the other one. So request can't run if there is no other rigid body at GameObject, because the other plane doesn't have a rigid body. So basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to go, go rigid body, probably call it ORB, so RID, RID, rigid body, and we're going to call it ARB, ARBs, is equal to other dot get component rigid body. And actually that's not true. It's other dot attach rigid body. And then if ARB not null, do this. And else, request 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 send in other dot game object dot game object. And yep, so that should fix that. I could also just add a rigid body to the plane, but this problem might also persist. I don't want a player on everything. So I don't want to have like a rigid body on every object in the scene. That's way unnecessary. So they'll still get me out of having to do that stupid thing of having too many rigid bodies to calculate physics for. Even though most of them wouldn't have calculated physics, just make them static, but all the same. Bad practice across the board on that. I'm gonna comment this line out just in case. So this should run in bullet now, should also run in gravity change. So, and yeah, that's just an example of request other attached rigid body dot game object. As an example of how when I collide with something, I want to go up to the rigid body level, which is where the collision's supposed to take place, which is where I plan all of my stuff to take place at. And that's where my collision CMD command clients are. So that's where I want my trigger command clients to go as well. And I just wrote this if else statement plus got this ahead of time to make sure I'm doing the correct action based on which one happens. So let's go ahead and go back to Unity. We'll go back, so everything should be fine again now. And I am aware now how everything's gonna be fine. That worked. Okay, so you see it work. The one thing you don't see work is the particle effects. I thought I saw a ball go out that way, but it doesn't look like it did. You can kind of see how fast some. Oh no! They are going through. What the heck? Why me 8? Why me 8? Why me 8? Why me 8? Huh. They are going through. Okay. Maybe it's a bit more complicated than I thought it was. If ARB not, we're going to the other attached rigid body. This should be null. It should return a false null. Other game object. Why is it not? It's convex. Did I maybe not set it up to have Bullet hit effects. Bullet hit effects. It's not bullet. It's bullet. So this is trigger CMD client. Apply deviation, apply initial, ready bullet. Deactivate bullet. Stop coroutines, ammo pool this. Game object. Dot set active false. That's everything here. And it would have failed before 7 and 8. Which 8 runs and set active false is not? Ammo transform. Given true or false value. Why does it not activate bullet? Collect vars. Wait for deactive. Fire bullet. Ready bullet, apply deviation. All these working correct, otherwise they wouldn't move at all. I don't have an update method yet, right? No, I do. Limit world velocity. That's not really working either anymore. What the frick happened here? Okay. Wait for deactive fire bullet. Bullet apply deviation. Well, that might be it for tonight. It looks like this is gonna be a little bit more difficult. Yeah, I don't know what happened that made it so different. Where's the on trigger? Oh, something got saved wrong. I don't see how it could be different. Here's on void trigger, basic on trigger, and then deactivate bullet. I have a feeling I've still got a problem here. Rigid body the collider is attached to. I wonder. Let's try a debug here. De debug.log. Debug.log. I want this. But this would be an error. So let's do this one. I'm wondering if, since this is an accessor, if this is undefined. Because if this is undefined, that could, if it's undefined rather than null, that could be my problem. Which basically means that rigid body, instead of instantiating a null reference, they did not instantiate anything, which is attached to rigid body. But that wouldn't make any sense because most of their stuff does return false nulls. So we're gonna go back, we're gonna save this, go back to Unity, run a program, NA. What is NA? Bug-free productions placeable object. Oh, that's that testable thing, right? Did I leave that in this field? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I put it on the capsule, then I. Yep, I forgot already. H. Okay, part of it's speed. Um, so the velocity is not being reset. So that would be one step. Bullet. So we'll do one, just a couple more minutes here. Fix that part and deactivate bullet. So basically in deactivate bullet, so its velocity gets reapplied at the same speed it was. Um, and then on top of that, we're adding another force. um, my limit world velocity probably isn't even getting time to run by the time it goes past the plane. So one thing we'll have to do is I think it's under fire bullet. Let's put it under ready bullet. Under ready bullet, we have set active. So none of this moves until its next fixed update frame. So let's go ahead and do RB dot, nope, dot B E velocity equal vector3.0. See what that does for me. Yep, fixed it. Velocity problem fixed. Trigger problem fixed. All problems fixed. That's the one thing, you're never certain if it's like, oh, what is my problem exactly when it comes to physics? Sometimes it's just is the object moving too fast to register collision? Sometimes it's something else where it's like, is my trigger working? Sometimes is it that do I have null references inside of my physics? Or not physics, inside of my references I'm trying to use. But that is a null reference, that is returning correctly. That is great. Which would have really sucked if it wasn't. So I don't know what I would have done. But luckily it's not too bad. So this thing here. Yeah, so this does does probably get a null reference. I could probably check that too if I just plane one. I do get its name. Plane one. So that's this. Yeah, it debugs the game object plus the name by default. I should actually not debug the game object. I should debug the name. It'd be faster. It's less crap on screen for me to look at. Um, so this can go away. This would be null. Likely, I could probably put that in the debug statement. But that null check is working, sending out the other one and running the trigger. So it's fine. Just looked bad. Everything's fine. Just doesn't always look good. And with that, I'll probably leave it about there. I'll come back and work on putting some more effects. We'll actually get into using the factory that we set up today. Like I said, I'm just a little slow today. I was a little tired, a little sleepy from driving, a little confused from working on the gravity trigonometry. Way. So I had to do something code for you guys that was so that it wasn't like, oh, we're not gonna do that this week. um, but yeah, so effectively, where's my thing at? Effectively, we'll leave it there for right now. Hopefully, I fixed my gravity. If not, it'll look a lot like your arcade racer, I guess, without any changes. Um, but if you're liking these, you can always watch me on Twitch TV/Jib at BFP or over on the YouTube channel if you can't make it live at Bug Free Productions. Feel free to drop in comments, questions, ideas for other things, including I kind of want to do another short, like 3 to 4 video tutorial on something. Might be something I'm going to reuse later. Something like, what would it be? I was thinking something like quick multiplayer. So it'd just be like real basic left, right, forward movement with multiplayer. Be a jump mechanic maybe. Do something like that. Do something a little faster, a little more scripted. Not really scripted because I don't do any scripting except C sharp. Haha. But that in general. So if you're interested in that stuff, make sure to stay tuned. Those will be Wednesdays from now on. And then Tuesdays are going to be art streams. So check out the art ones if you want to know how to make some art for Unity and just in general. Those are a little bit more chill. We just put all the music on in the background. Feel free to drop in and talk about either art or code. I won't be coding on those, but I will be able to answer some questions. Same with making things for Unity with art. I'll probably be at least able to talk about it, if not doing it, um, which is a little bit less often these days, but that's because I'm trying to figure out what I want with my UI. I have some spider webs that I need to clean up. So, and then be on the lookout for any extra bonus streams. Remember to follow so you know when those just happen because I just kind of hit stream when I need to do some work on some stuff. That's kind of what the Jason bonus one was. And we'll probably be in the future doing some stuff with that. I got a couple things. Might be bonus art, might be bonus coding, programming. We'll see how it goes. With that, I think we'll get the music back here and I'll wish everybody a bug-free night. Thank you guys.